Good day, my students. My name is Dr. Ubaidallah Muhammad Bello from Department of English of this prestigious Nasarawa State University, Kefi. The course I have before me for me to discuss with you on its rudiments and especially the part assigned for me to take is GST122. Communication in English 2. As you know, there are 6 venues for this course, and by implication it means there are 6 lecturers taking the same course, which I'm part of them. And my topic wouldn't be the same topic they'll be taking. Mine is principles and techniques of public speech. To most people, writing a speech is easy, but the most difficult or tedious part of it is how to deliver it before people we call audience. However, the most important step to delivering a good speech is the development of a mesmerizing theme or topical issue or subject matter. Therefore, every speaker needs to focus on the message they intend to convey before the audience. And these audience are called consumers of the information at the disposal of public speech delivery by a public speaker in whatever situation or context at hand. Most people know that, okay, for me to write is simple, because you have to follow stages of writing, and among the stages there is the stage we call stage of proofreading. It means you can come back, revisit what you have written to also justify the sense of what you want and the sense of what you do not want before it gets to the audience and for them to consume the information you have in the content of your own writing. But when it comes to speech, which is said to be public speech, you have to know that you are first standing before the public or people in a very large number, and again, whatever you utter, whatever comes out of your mouth can never be retrieved by you. You only can explain what you have to say or what you have said or what you would have said. But whether you like it or not, you cannot remove it from the brains or the thoughts of people when they have already consumed your message from whatever point of view, either positive or negative ingredients. By this, let's understand that speech is both an art and what? An act. Why is it an art? For me to explain this better, you have to know that we have different speeches and different types depending on the situation the speaker finds themselves. We have one, impromptu speech, the one you have to just deliver without being notified, but thus you hear your name being called to go and deliver it. We have extemporaneous speech. You are just notified within 10 minutes before you do it. You have memorized speech. Yes, you write it and you memorize because you deliver it now without holding any paper to guide you. And the last one is manuscript speech, the one you have to write, stand before people, even send copies to people so that they read closely to what you are saying word for word. Okay, now this last one is my own favorite. Why do I say that? Because it has to do with the basic rudiments of what I want you to understand. By speech is both an art and what? An act. By art, we mean the process of writing to make it highly beautiful. It is something conditioned for aesthetic beauty. Okay? You have to put these words, ensure they have beauty in their own conglomeration and the rest. And it is an act again at the same time, because when you write it, you just don't drop it in your room or your office. One day you have to come and stand before the public to deliver it. And that is why we say it is both an art when you are into writing, and an act when you have to do it because it requires you to perform an act. Are we there? Okay, now the concept of speech. A speech connotes oral communication which has to do with presenting a view, issue, or information in a form of talk before an audience. In other words, it is a talk given or a remark made to an audience, and that is a group of listeners, which we can also call consumers of the speech or consumers of the information being presented by the public speaker. And a speech can also be called an address, an oration, a sermon, or a lecture. The lecture you stand before people to do, whether you like it or not, is also part of what we call public speech, because the students are public, and what you are involved in doing is to present a talk, a formal talk before them. So whether you like it or not, it is a speech we call public speech. Even sermon, pastor or imam in mosques or churches deliver speeches before the congregation, and this congregation is also a public. So they have to get ready, they have to get equipped before they do it. It is not just to wake up at night or just wake up in the morning, prepare and just come and stand before people. You have to know what we call guidelines, and for you to be well equipped so that you don't have any mishmash, or you don't have any obstacle, or there will be no hindrance in what you are trying to deliver. Okay, now let's look at public speech preparation guidelines. One is context or situation. Every speech must have a context, which simply means the occasion that calls for the speech. Context means occasion, the situation at hand. You have to know one thing. This situation or context could either be religious, could be political, could be social occasion, and the rest. And having the context at hand would enable the public speaker to do justice to the speech. If not, there will be very misunderstanding among the audience who are the consumers of the speech of the speaker. Okay, now let me cite an example. You find yourself to deliver a speech in a political context or situation or occasion, and you start by saying, in the name of God, the most gracious and the most merciful, all praises are due to God, the protector of the universe. I stand here at this point or juncture to enable you understand that whatever we are doing on earth, God is looking at us. We have to know that we are sinners and we continue to sin, but as individuals who worship God, we have to be relevant so that one day God will not be angry with us. You are calling God in political context. You even maybe add by saying, in politics there are liars, and liars are bound to enter hellfire. You are already doomed, because all these politicians wouldn't want you to talk. In fact, if they have all chances, they will just remove you and throw you away, and nobody will invite you for any political showcase again. It means you must define the context. Or you find yourself as a pastor in church, you now start, the first thing you start when you look at the eyes of your audience, you shout, PDP power in church. You are not doing justice to that particular public speech, and many people will now render you useless, because that context or situation does not warrant calling PDP, doing this, and you are not there for politics. So in fact, you must define your context or situation of public speech. Is a very important thing to equip yourself with. The next one is objective or purpose. This kind of objective or purpose is simply the effect the speaker expects the speech to have on the audience. It could mean the core reason behind the delivery of the speech. What could be for transmission of information, for persuasion, for advice, for admonition, and for entertainment. When you know your context, you have to know again what objective do you have. For instance, if your context is a religious one, you want to preach, there are different things and there are many things to preach about, but you have to define your objective. Simply because you do not have the whole day, you don't have the whole time. Your objective will also give you the understanding of rubbing mind with your audience and for you to carry them alone. If not, some people will just leave you if your objective is not that straightforward. It means anything extraneous out of the objective should not be even considered. Don't be talking about religion and be talking about politics, and you do not define your objective. If you are there to entertain, entertain. If you are there to inform, inform. If you are there to persuade, persuade. And that is what presupposes the objective of your own speech. The third one in the guidelines is audience. Audience are the receivers, recipients, or consumers of your own public speech, and they are not to be taken for granted. Especially that some audience have a very poisonous or obnoxious eyes. If they look at you, you are in trouble. And this is why you must engage yourself in rehearsal for what to do and for what to say. Rehearse, and after that, define your context, know your objective. Then your audience too would have influence on what you are doing. It is not everything you just be vomiting or you just be regurgitating. You have to define actually what people or what kind of people am I going to meet. For instance, if I happen to present a speech before only male audience, I'll be very free to say whatever I would want to say, and especially if they are of the same age with me. But if I have professors before me, I have doctors or senior lecturers, I have pastors, I have imams, I have elites, I have to be very conscious of what to say. If not, I'll be rendered useless by them and disrespectful. If it is a female speaker, public speaker, presenting only before female people, you have to know that they will utter their things in such a way that they have nothing to shy of. But if one man is there, if they are up to million and just one man is there, they will be very conscious of what to say. And what is all this? Audience. You have to be very, very equipped by understanding the kind of audience you have before you. And this audience can be mixture of passers-by or drifters, captive audience, and we must be very, very careful the kind of audience we have. Some people will just come before and stand before you because they heard you are the one to do the public speech. If not, they wouldn't have come. If in fact it means you do not say anything. If the audience can be classified into having different religions, you see, you have to say everything to avoid using one word that will show you supporting one religion or the other. That is very bad of you as a public speaker. Religious issues have to be avoided if that particular gathering is not meant for religious gathering. If it is a political gathering, you have to be very careful. If it is a social gathering, you have to be very careful as a public speaker, because the audience may not constitute only people belonging to your religion. So you have to understand that audience could be of different types and could cut across various interest groups or interdisciplinary boundaries and age differences, status, and the rest. I can't be talking before wealthy people in such a way that I can be talking before just kids or children or professors and the rest. I have to define my audience. It is very important guideline for you as a public speaker. The next one is time. It is to be believed that a speaker does not have 24 hours to deliver a public speech in a day. They may not be given specific time to deliver, but where they are given, they have to do everything possible to work within that particular time frame. You can't just allow people to sit down from morning till night and you are talking. It's not possible. Never possible. You have to understand that maybe you are given just 30 minutes. Even if you are not given 30 minutes, understand that people have a lot of engagement. Utilize the time. This is why to define your objective is very important. Know your audience will also help you to just be very brief and to deliver a lot of meaningful content in what you have within the time frame. So time is very, very important, that public speakers should plan and to deliver well within the time in order to avoid making it boring to the audience. Nonetheless, if it does, it will make the speech meaningless, unachievable, and unsatisfying, or even not electrifying. And people would not even celebrate you because you take a lot of time and they don't even understand anything. You take just a few minutes and you can deliver what would have been used in a whole day. So time is very, very important. The next thing is content. Being conscious of the time factor determines the scope of the content area a speaker hopes to cover. The topic should sufficiently be limited to accommodate an adequate or appropriate details that would achieve a speaker's purpose, because they are seen as experts or specialists in their own area from which they are chosen to deliver. It means a speaker has to be very ponderous in order not to overstuff the speech time with everything they know about the topic. For instance, you find yourself in a gathering that you are given a topic this way: the importance of marriage and its challenges among the adults. You can take a whole year talking about marriage and challenges without finishing. And maybe you just have 2 hours or 1 hour to deliver. It means, one, you have to select words that would accommodate a very few of what to say that would have been extended to large number of things just within a stretch. You don't have a whole time. Time does not permit you to do all these things. Then you have to define your content. What do I have to achieve? Do I go by importance of marriage, just a few of them, and what are the challenges? One challenge, you can just maybe expatiate on it. It means you are a good specialist in terms of your own area. So content, you don't need to go extraneous. Don't go extraneous. Anything irrelevant to what you are being given. Don't be talking about marriage and be talking about politics. Don't be talking about marriage and be talking about business. You are going contrary to what is expected of you, and you are not a specialist then. The last one is medium of communication. By medium of communication, we mean the channel used between a speaker and the audience. It is of utmost importance for a speaker to examine their audience before choosing the appropriate medium to deliver the speech. When you know the context, you know the audience, you know the time, okay, then you have to define what medium I have to use. I told you, audience are very important as consumers of your speech, and you have to know one thing. This audience can come from different age groups, different statuses. Some of them can be illiterate, some of them can be literate, depending on the context at hand. If you find yourself in a rural area or people before you are not learned, if you choose to use standard English from beginning to the end, you are making a wrong choice. You can just go to your village when you know that many of them did not even go to school, and you now start by saying, "Good evening, my people. I'm very delighted to be here with you this morning and to have a lot of things to discuss with you, especially that I have come with many illustrious people from my own angle of living in the city." You're just talking. Many people will not even understand what you are saying. Come down to their level. Come, choose a channel. Chord switching and chord mixing are even allowed here. Say, "My people." You can even use pidgin. Pidginize the English so that you can carry everybody alone. At least village people know pidgin. "We don't come to you." Yes, we've come. For you say, "We've come to you." See, we come to you. We don't come just to carry everybody alone. Instead of saying cucumber, say cucumber. You see, you are selecting a very good choice for them. But if you find yourself in Nasarawa State University, maybe during matriculation ceremony of students or freshers, you use standard English. You're not expected to use code switching. by saying, the Vice Chancellor, Nage Sheka. All other personalities, heads of department, senior colleagues, Ganaoge Swang. You are not making a choice that is good. This medium is not meant for that particular audience and the situation or context. So situation or context and audience would presuppose the kind of channel you have to what? Use. Don't cause switch if you are talking to learned people and the situation at hand is matriculation ceremony. But if it's just a social gathering, meeting in your village, don't select standard English or American English. If not, the speech would prove abortive because you are choosing a very wrong medium of communication. Okay, now, all these things we have mentioned determine a speaker's medium of communication that would be. And these things we mentioned from 1 to 6 happen to be guidelines for the preparation of public speech. Okay, now we have techniques of public speech. Several techniques could be used to achieve a public speech, some of which could be greeting the audience. You just don't come and stand before people and start talking anyhow. You have to know the audience and greet them from their own personality and ranking. If the VC is here, start with the VC before the DVCs, the registrar, the heads of the deans or directors, deans, heads, then to the lowest level, and that is a very good one. And speakers use salutation or greeting as part of their introduction, aiming at seizing the attention of people. This is a very good technique for you to use. Voice modulation. This can be used by a speaker to attract attention of the audience via setting and regulating their tone in course of speech delivery. The mastery and command of the language, authoritative voice, and ensuring composure add colorful ingredients to make a very impressive presentation. Don't just use a very dooming voice when you are talking to your audience. You ensure you make it captivating, mesmerizing, ravishing, or electrifying, so that in fact it would attract attention from the audience and of the audience for you to be listened to, and they carry what you are giving them. Just take for instance, if you are listening to radio and some people, newscasters, doing their own work. You select people because some of them don't even have voice modulation. They just talk anyhow. And especially girls are good presenters when compared to guys, because naturally or biologically they have very sweet voice and the modulation is there. But you can also use it as a very captivating technique of your public speech. Is very important. Definition of terms. I made mention of marriage and its challenges as a topic. You have to define what marriage is. Many people just know marriage, but they don't even know what it is. You have to make clarification of what is composed of your topic. It's also a technique to carry people along. Use of anecdote. This is a personal life experience story that may have happened to the speaker. You know, some stories that you just inject into your speech will now make it relevant between you and your audience, and they will just be attracted to what you are doing. Especially when you're talking about sympathy, you now bring about a kind of an anecdote or personal life experience or story that may have happened to you to showcase or corroborate the stance of you preaching that sympathy issue and the rest. Then it's also very important. Use of illustrations and examples in a public speech is very, very important, and it allows you to flow and carry everybody alone. Use of titles, headings, and subheadings. Use of summary words, okay, phrases, and the rest. All these are very, very important. Now, last, we have characteristics of speech or oral communication. Characteristics or features of oral communication. You know, we have first paralinguistic devices or non-verbal communication signals like facial expressions. You can, if you are writing, you have nothing to do with paralinguistic devices. Facial expressions, use of body language, movement, If you're writing, you have nothing to do with them. But if you are engaged in public speech, whether you like it or not, they are part of the characteristics. You have to be using your hands, demonstrating, using your leg, facial expression, eyes to communicate, to corroborate what you are saying. Okay, all these things are typical and characteristic features of a public speech or oral communication. Simple diction, choice of words have to be very, very chosen carefully so that you do the right thing before, and the nature of audience gives you that avenue. Shorter sentences, direct and rhetorical questions, more personal pronouns like I, we. Okay, use of contracted forms like shan't instead of shall not, I'll instead of I will, mustn't, and the rest. They are very important. As a public speaker, you have to understand all these things and their own rudimentary effect on your own public presentation. That is it for this particular topic, and I wish you all the best in your doings and your togetherness as student of this prestigious Nasarawa State University, Kefi, and even the public who happen to be consumers of this particular discussion. Thank you.